Well, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are across the globe. Welcome to On the Sofa with Esther. And I have the beautiful Carolyn Griffey with me today. Carolyn is a solo artist in her own right, but she also sings with Shalamar. She is Shalamar. So welcome, 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 Carolyn.
Well, thank you. It's such a pleasure to be here. My gosh, done a lot of different videos. Did I say videos? I've done a lot of different interviews, but I don't know how many actual videos, Zoom interviews I've done lately. Maybe during the pandemic, but a lot of times it's nice to do it in person. But the pandemic opened up such an amazing
platform
for us, right?
Absolutely. Connectivity. So, we look really great up here, but then I got my pajamas on the bottom. And it's just that is interesting.
I was like, have you ever had an interview with somebody curling their hair? I guess men don't have to worry about that kind of stuff.
And then below you got the dog and you're kicking the dog away while you're doing the interview. I mean,
if I were, that would be the case.
Absolutely.
My dog likes to get in my interviews.
Yeah. I had a couple of months ago, I was interviewing someone and my dog decided to, and I was trying, and he was, because I got a lighting there and I could see him heading towards the wire that connects, to the wall. And I could see the lighting slowly going like this. And I had to just subtly pretend that I was doing this and catch it with my toe and do all those acrobatics. But that's live. Like they said, it's live TV sometimes. So you have to go with the flow. I usually ask my guest, Carolyn, in a nutshell, in a peanut shell, like a coconut shell. Who is Carolyn Griffey?
It's not possible. To box Carolyn Griffey in, that doesn't work. I am, Carolyn Griffey is bipolar. And I'll say that when I say this, because there are so many sides. So I have to say bipolar because you just stick everything in there. Or I'll just say multi. I just have so many sides. And when I say bipolar, I don't say that in a bad way because I want you to know that I'm very in the mental health movement.
Okay.
It's very important. I am actually on my mental health walk right now. And there's a lot of things going on. And also talking about my father, who was actually, who was bipolar. Okay. So anyway, but I'm a lot of things, and I hate to say it. I've never been confident enough to say I'm every woman, but now I'm confident enough to say I'm every woman.
Excellent. Excellent. And it's interesting because I usually say when people ask me, like you, I've never been in a box and I never will be. And I say I'm a universal soul, which means I'm an adventurous Sagittarian, and I'm a universal soul, which means I roam. That song by Paul Young, wherever I lay my hat is my home. That's me. I can make, I can do 0-star, I can do 5-star, I can do, so I'm the embracive of the everything, and I can slot in wherever I need to slot in.
Thank you. I'm going to borrow that, by the way.
I feel that's you because, I've been watching you, stalking you a bit, but just watching your movements even more as, especially as Shalamar's over here to perform. And, I've watched your workout movies, your little clips, but also I've watched your spiritual movement as well. And then I've watched you on stage, and then I've watched you with your interviews, and I see those various aspects of Carolyn, and they make the whole, and you embrace the whole, don't you, Carolyn?
You know what? I've just learned to, and I'll be honest. And you're going to hear me talk about mental health a lot in this interview because the pandemic, I think, Howard always says, if the pandemic has not changed you, then something's not right. As a little girl, I always remember I was all over the place, and I'm just happy here, happy there, trying to be the gesture, not the gesture, but I think kind of just wanting to make everybody happy. And growing up in diverse surroundings, I grew up in a predominantly Black neighborhood. Then when my dad was huge with his predominantly African-American label, then we moved to a predominantly white neighborhood. So I remember kind of being this person and the horseman and then this. And I was like, well, maybe something's wrong with me because I don't have a base. until I just recently realized that God made me perfectly all over the place to culminate what it is that he has me to do. And I don't think I've really understood that until now. And if people do not ground themselves to try to figure it out, literally talking about Carolyn's crazy. Yeah, I am crazy, but the difference is I know my crazies. I know what makes me tick. I know what I shouldn't do. I know what I do. So, and you know what? I don't think I really was a performer until recently. I think I was just doing a job.
Okay.
And I think now I feel it. And Jeffrey has helped a lot with that. You know, Jeffrey's different. He's a different kind of person, you know, being in close quarters with him. And here, this is me coming into the group. I'm like the baby of the group, little girl. And then he's so subdued. And before shows, he's just looking at everybody because he gathers himself. Yeah. And it's energy.
Yes, absolutely.
It's energy. And I'm learning this from the younger generation because they're about, you know, of course, the levels and frequencies and all that other stuff. Well, we didn't grow up with frequencies, but it's such a huge part of who we are and how we interact with people.
Yeah.
And I know.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Because it is all about vibration. Because in my world growing up, I mean, this was from a baby. I always had that sort of extra awareness. So my world was so different from everybody else's. I never understood the other world. I was in my own world. And yes, sometimes in my bedroom, I used to dance. And I used to say I used to dance with the fairies because I was connected to something that was really deeper outside of me. And so growing up and understanding the importance of energy, and that defines where we are within ourselves.
Absolutely.
And who we draw into our space. And so I had the privilege of interviewing Jeffrey and Howard 2 weeks ago and Jeffrey last week. And like you said, they seem to be both on this, but it's spiritual, this spiritual awareness journey. And Jeffrey, I mean, we got talking so much. It's almost like we got to talk again because so much about this. But it's fundamental.
And it's break a lot of the point of life that some of us are in. Well, I find most of us are in right now is breaking tradition.
Yeah.
If those of us that were raised in tradition, a traditional church or a traditional this, you know, especially as women and people of color, realizing a lot of this are other people's traditions. What, you know, indigenously, we came from somewhere where we were not raised and everything was changed for us. So how do we find our way back to just being just this groundbreaking spiritual people that God created us to be? And that's why I think it's so funny, you know, but we went through so much oppression, but that's why I have the most soul.
Yes, and that's where, you know, soul music, the blues, they are all expressions.
I got chill bumps right when I said that. It was like, that was an experience. Wow.
The blues, man, the blues, when they were singing the blues, they were going down even beyond the soul because they were singing about their experience, but they were singing about the experience of the collective and the ancestors and also imbuing this is who we are as we come through the blues. And then you got soul, the soul of it, the soul.
And even gospel, the spiritual. And again, you're gonna notice this. Sometimes when I'm talking, it'll
I get it.
Downpour into me while I'm talking.
I get it because I get tingles, and sometimes I may close my eyes because it's more like this.
And it's like, you know, I feel that's the Holy Spirit moving through us, or you know, or some people are thinking ancestrally things are dropped into your spirit. I feel that during that time where we were contained, that was our freedom. Music was our freedom.
Yes.
Our emotions, our hurts, our pains, we put it into music. So then again, I look at what I said earlier, and the fact that I'm just now, I was enslaved because I was just doing music. I wasn't allowing it to be a part of me. And now I I feel it.
You feel.
When I sing something now, I understand it. You know, like Jeffrey last night, we all went on a walk and he came in. Just being older, you savor more things. When I was young, I didn't know anything about this. Growing up around these guys, they were just, it was cool. Now it's, wow, this is history.
Yes.
These men are legendary. This legacy that my father started, like, wow, this is still, he's gone, but it's still going. And Jeffrey was talking about dance. He goes, I don't hear beats, I feel it. And that was that Jeffrey doesn't know. I haven't said it to him yet, but I watched him and it just went through me. It teaches me every time, being around them, being around, just being in this industry. And I'm glad that I'm allowed to get that now, because some people you look, and even people, and we can be honest, the people that have left here because they were on drugs, because I was just watching Naomi Judd's funeral or service before when I were talking. And it was just really, truly sad to me that this woman was so beautiful. She had so much to give, and she only felt alive on stage. That personally, she did not, that she couldn't find happiness in everyday life. And you know what? We really now at this point, even with Shalamar, Jeffrey is, I mean, I see things happening. It's like, oh, they're getting older, but I see beautiful things happening. Like, I'm like, Jeffrey, you don't celebrate the legend that you are. It's, oh yes, Shalamar. No, it's not Shalamar. What you did outside of Shalamar, the dozens of entertainers and the dances that you've introduced to the world. I mean, maybe you didn't invent them, but you're the father of so much, giving birth to Michael Jackson and who he became, and even Howard, the people that he's worked with. It's like, I'm looking around, and before I never felt worthy, but now I'm just like, I'm exactly where I was supposed to be.
You're part of now, you're part of, and you're feeling that.
I've always been a part of it though, and that's what I didn't realize.
That's right. So you're a part of it. You've always been a part, but you understand that now. And you said something so key there, Carolyn, about legacy and history. And that's why I love what I do, because I want to capture the voices of the elders, not elders, the old, but the elders, because it's like when I do these interviews, I feel like a little girl sitting at the feet of, because I'm like, wow.
Yeah, but
because
I feel on stage.
So
I feel that way on stage. I look over and I'm just like, oh my gosh. I'm not watching that. I mean, it's almost kind of like a slap, and it's like, you're in Shalamar. After 21 years, it still to me is surreal.
Wow, that says a lot.
Yeah.
That says
21. A lot of people don't know 21 years, because when I came in the group, I didn't want to do it. I basically kind of was made to do it. Howard and Jeffrey invited me to do something, but when my father put that stamp on it, he's like, this is what's going to happen. I was like, I felt like the Indian chief's daughter that he was selling off to John Smith or something. I mean, and I even called, I'm trying not to really get into it. I even tried to reach out to Jody. Tried to reach out like, are you sure you don't want to do this? Because I don't. She wouldn't answer. She didn't want to be a part of it. And I was like, and I didn't understand it, but that's why it's important for us to trust the process.
Yeah. So where you are now, Carolyn, I mean, you're in the UK and on the UK tour, and you've just come back from Italy. Did you perform there as well?
No, we were in Portugal.
Oh, Portugal, apologies. So is that where you performed, yeah?
Yes, but I take what you just said as a prophetic speaking, and I'm accepting that, because we've been wanting to go to Italy.
Because that was that's just what I was getting, Italy.
Well, good. That means it's on the way. Watch. I thank you for that.
Fantastic. Wow. Woo. Wow. Okay.
I feel it too. I'm here too.
I'm coming to see you guys tomorrow. I'm coming to the gig tomorrow, so hopefully I might be able to get backstage, but I'll see you guys in a few weeks' time as well. But performing now, like you said, you're feeling it, you are imbuing it. Your soul has caught a fire with something that's been, burning in the ashes for a while. A bit like the phoenix rising from the ashes. I see that's what's coming into you, and you're just blossoming from that. So when you get up on stage now, what do you feel is the difference between how you perform now, because you feel it, to how you performed before?
Well, I think a lot of it too is confidence. I can't believe I'm saying, why are you making me say this? Some people are like, who are you fighting with? I'm just like,
happens all the time.
Well, you know why? Because growing up in the industry, you're conditioned to give a persona. And at this point in my life, I don't have any, I don't put on airs. I am this is who I am. Authentically, I'm probably a little more polished in your interview than I will be when you see me because that's what we do. But it's confidence, because I never had a whole lot of confidence in myself. And now I remember thinking when I first started in Shalamar, like I was so nervous to get on stage, and I used to watch people that couldn't wait to get out there. And I said, how do they do that? And I didn't realize that over the years, I just developed that I'm not afraid of the crowd, because England gave me that confidence.
Okay.
England embraced me in a way that I did not anticipate. And I was no longer afraid to go out, because I dealt with a lot of the, you're not Jody Watley, or that you have no,
I can imagine.
Yeah, or this and that. And, and then I've had people come against me, like, who's she trying to be? Who it's not who I'm trying to. And Jeffrey, I keep mentioning his name, he was always a big part of that. He's like, baby girl, you don't have to come in here and duplicate anything. You come in here and give who you are to the group, because that's where we are now. And you're not singing old Jody parts. These are Shalamar songs. And when I look at it, ultimately, that all was owned and encompassed under Solar Records. So, I'm not replacing somebody. I'm celebrating a legacy that pretty much I've inherited, which is different than any other story out there. And you know what? Because I've never been the type of person to give myself credit. So now I'm having to tiptoe, because I don't want it to seem like, dang, she's full of herself. I'm like, no, I know it's okay to, number one, give myself some credit, to love who I am and where I'm going, no matter what I'm going through at that time, because it's a struggle. It's a struggle every day, sometimes, to get up and even like yourself. So to get up and give yourself credit, because us as even women of color, we're usually so busy, we take care of everybody. We take care of everybody else. And somewhere in history, we weren't told that we need to take care of us. So right now, that difference is, I love who I am, even when I'm going through it. I love the ability that I'm excited to get out on that stage. And what it is more than anything is the crowd. I don't perform for me. When the crowd is out, crowds feed us. There's been times I've been on stage and just watching these people, and I've got things in my head that I'm dealing with, but you don't bring your junk to work. I'm looking, there are people that have been cancer and this was their last show, or they're going through things. And for this moment in time, you're giving these people a joy that you're not in control of. You're doing your job, but there's something else going on, because this is part of people's lives.
Absolutely. I'm
sorry. I didn't expect it.
No, that's okay. That's okay, because there's just something really powerful going on here. Because as you're talking, that's why it's so important. When I've interviewed a lot of the Motown artists, when you speak, I hear a lot of their story and journeys in what you're saying, because they show up, because they recognize that God has given them a gift, and they show up for the people. And sometimes I've interviewed them, like you talked about growing up around the OJs and the Whispers, and I remember interviewing Eddie Levert Sr. and he had lost two sons within a span
Yep.
of 2 years. And I remember saying to him, how did you? And he said, we had almost like a pact between us that the show must go on. And with Sister Sledge, when they lost their sister Joni, they had to perform a week after. And I said, how? And it was their faith that kept them. And then I've interviewed John Wilson from Sly, Slick and Wicked.
Oh, he's a great friend of mine.
John is
of mine.
He's beautiful. He's got like an elephant brain because he remembers everybody and everything. And he's telling me some stories about what he went through as a Black man. And I'm like, how? And he goes, that's why he did that concert about love, because it's all about love. He had to fight back with love, because otherwise anything else would have swallowed him up and destroyed him. And so as you're talking, I'm just getting this real essence of, yes, oftentimes and I keep saying to people, yes, these artists, when they get up on stage, they have things going on, but they are there to honor their mission and their purpose in life. They're there to honor the gifts that they've been given, and to understand that the gift isn't yours, it's for yours to share. It puts a different dynamic on things.
And that's a great word, because it is a gift. I even have to admit, and a part of growing in this new journey I'm on is transparency, and it's a struggle, because the industry I'm in doesn't celebrate transparency.
Oh yeah,
keep up an air. You're supposed to put on a face. I've always been taught, like you say, the show must go on. I remember having a knockdown, drag out fight with a boyfriend of mine on the way to an event. I mean, I hate you. I mean, it was terrible. And we both were in Hollywood. We got out that car and we smiled and waved, and nobody knew that I wanted to strangle this man in front of everybody. And that's okay, because we do have to have boundaries and limits. But right now we are in a season and in the spirit of this earth that everything is going horribly. So the only thing we really have is what little bit of humanity we have left, and really spiritually digging in deep, having and being honest, because we've been lied to so many years, just us as a people, lied to about everything. So so the fact that, like Jeffrey going, on the Hajj, and I mean, just, he would send me stuff every day and share pictures and experiences. And it's like, that's not my path, but I was it was just emotional. And it was amazing that this man, and there's days he doesn't know I cried looking at that, because knowing what he had experienced all his life, and to have the opportunity to go there and fast and pray and be in the midst of something that some of us may never ever see. I mean, that's goodness. When you talk about life and just goodness, those are godness. I just think that, right now, like the other night, we did a concert, and I just hit a wall. I was tired, and I never do this. I'm very amicable. I always like to greet people. And there were people outside, and they just drilled this COVID thing in me. COVID, finish the tour. Don't do this. Cover your face and all this stuff. And I'm just like, I really can't embrace people the way that I've always loved to do it.
Yeah.
And I kind of just walked through the crowd and waved, and I got in the Sprinter. I just wasn't in the mood. I got upset. And then a couple of people put their albums, or, which wasn't me, but they put their things to the door. And I hated the way that felt, because those people came out. Some of the best friends we have now are people that were fans. We don't say fans, we're friends. Waited out in the pouring rain. One of the ladies that run our Shalamar Friends website, they were ladies, the school teachers, who followed us to whatever places they could go to, stood out when it was freezing in the rain just to wave and say hello. And it's like, that's something to think about.
Yeah.
People who just, they don't care that this is some of it is a bucket list. Some of it is, but the thing is, so we have a responsibility, and we have a responsibility to love back. And it's a love, like the whispers, it's a love thing.
Yeah.
And anybody that does this and is in this business and just not appreciate the people that made them or continue to allow them to work, shame on you if you're listening to me. Maybe this is me, maybe God is having me say this to you, because we have a responsibility to, and it's not to be nice, to love back. That's what this, you think we feel like getting over here and not get up night after night, no sleep?
Yes.
Sometimes we're getting on each other's nerves. Sometimes I don't even want to sit, Howard and I don't even want to sit next to each other. We're like bad kids. We were sitting in the car the other day and he's like, you make me sick. I was like, so what? You know, but we're family, and that's what families do. And sometimes we're tired, but it's like once we get on stage and those lights come on, it's like, bam, it's over.
Yes. Yeah. And, you know, as you're talking also, it's about, you know, the reality is you're still human and needing your top up in the back end, needing some top up because, you know, I went to see the Osmonds, the musical, and which was written by Jay Osmond. And I've met Meryl Osmond and Jay a couple of times, and they are so giving. But when you actually listen to what they went through as a family, the constant giving, and in the background they had their mother and father who were really sort of, you know, filled that space to in that degree. But it's always needing to, because you go through these same emotions that we all do. You have the same issues, but then but you are in the public arena, which is your, like you said, your job. But then maybe on sometimes we have to also recognize sometimes you will have your down days, you will have your off days.
Lots of days.
And for most part you will push through, but there may be one or two of those days where it's just you do react or respond the way you did. But for the most part, we know what's in your heart and what you're giving to us. And that's key, what I would like people to recognize. And I could talk to you forever. I'm just realizing the time.
I've kind of just, I went somewhere I didn't expect to go, but
yeah. That happens a lot. That happens a lot with my conversations. I don't want to say interviews. It happens a lot. And because, you know, someone's going to watch this and someone's going to take away something from this. And what I'm really seeing and sensing from you is this authenticity, this sharing, this heartfelt sharing and openness. And it's good because you're allowing yourself to be authentic in this space, even though, yes, you're still in the industry, but in this space, there's a space that's been held for that authenticity to come through. And people are going to take away something really passionate from this, and then we're going to go dance at your gig tomorrow.
Well, I mean, I love that, and tomorrow's especially special for me too, because you know that's a pinnacle venue for an artist that many of them have never seen the inside of the London Palladium, and we're getting an opportunity to do it for the second time. But the real thing for me,
did you say second time?
This is our second time. We did it a few years ago. On June 1st.
Wow.
And sold it out.
Wow.
Even they even opened up the Royal Box for seats because it was heaving. So tomorrow is important. And my mother Carrie, my mother's here, Carrie Lucas. Because we are here opening our Soul Train clubs.
Wow.
Yes. Of course we've got Solar UK, which our CEO, Jesse Sang, Sonia Damney is our VP, and she's HD Promotions. So they're doing a lot of clubs, but we've just now finally launched our Soul Train clubs, which we are in the process of doing. Also going to be celebrating the history of Soul Train, because Soul Records started as Soul Train Records.
Yes, they did. Yes.
So the thing is, we've got a lot of the dancers that want to come over. We've got some other artists that were on Soul Train Records that are good, that we'd like to incorporate. And at some point, we want to grow into actually a venue where we can have the artists come in and So
I can do this,
Absolutely. But what I was saying is my mother's here in town and I'm trying to get her. I would love for me to look up and see her in that Royal Box and just be in the Palladium with me. It would mean the world to me. So
fantastic. Wow. And I guess winding down, I mean, what is Carolyn going to give to the UK audience tomorrow?
Everything that we came here to give. And it's so funny, the friend that I was talking about, he just says, go on there. He says, be focused and give them exactly what they want. And I think that's what we're going to do. We're going to make them feel good. We're going to make it a night to remember. We are going to, we're going to party. Yeah. And we're going to share the love. And that's really what Shalamar is about, is sharing the love. Because no matter what's going on in the world, what we take away, we can look around the room. And Jeffrey does. He makes everybody, he said, look at one another. Look, standing next to each other. This is love. No matter what war is going on out there, we've got love happening in here. And that's all we want to do. We want to share the love with everybody and have a great time. And I know it sounds cliche, but we want it to be memorable.
Brilliant. Well, Carolyn, it's been a real pleasure talking to you, conversing with you, and you shared some real poignant moments and tips. So looking forward to seeing you tomorrow, and just wish you all the best, and thank you for your authenticity.
Thank you for taking me and being patient with me with the traveling schedule. So
that's fine. I'm patient. I'm talking to a legend. This is like history. This is legacy. And you maybe a lot of you may not recognize that, but you are part of this historical soul train, and each one of you fits into one of the carriages.
And you know what? I never thought that, and thank you for that, because somebody always says you're a legend. I'm like, I haven't done anything. I'm just here. But you know what? When I think about our legacy started from Soul Train to Solar, then to Death Row Records. And that's where it ended, because a lot of people don't know that my dad was 50% owner in Death Row. So that's a whole nother conversation. We'll do that the next time.
Yes, most definitely. But yeah, I mean, it's because finally, you don't see yourself as a legend. But the thing is, by the main premise that you are following your purpose and you are sharing your gifts, that is what it's all about. That's what's to inspire people. The graveyard they said the graveyard is a very rich place. And so what you are doing is following your purpose, following your gifts. You're inspiring others, to get up, find your purpose, find your gift. Yeah.
And stay healthy along the way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, ladies and gentlemen, talking to Carolyn Griffey from Shalamar. Thank you.
Come on, come on, you would do your thing.